From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, it's great to have you here. This is the Badass Counseling Show. My name is Sven I am the host of this fine delivery mechanism of aliveness and joy and healing and growth. But the real brains of the operation are right here in the studio. I'll introduce them in just a second. Whether you are tuning in from Perth, Australia, or South Africa, perhaps you are in Grand Junction, Colorado, or you are down in Florida digging out from the hurricane, or our favorite folks up in the Great White North and also over in UK. It's great to have you here tuning in with us. I am joined in studio as per usual by KC. She's over in her booth where she loves to prowl. None of us go near her booth because you'll get bitten in your butt. She'll chew your ass. I used to have an Aunt Viv, and Aunt Viv said, get out of my kitchen. This woman would bake 1,200 dozen cookies every Christmas and sell them. Unbelievable. But you stay the fuck out of her kitchen. And next to me, the true delight of the entire operation, happiest person you've ever met, smartest person you ever met, Rob the Rocket. Rob, say hello.
Always inspired, always enlightened by our show, Sven. So rock on.
I shall rock. For those about to rock, here we go. I salute you. All right, here we go. Unfiltered Love on TikTok asked the opening question. How do I become less judgmental? Great question. Your judgmentalness is driven by pain, fear, and anger and hurt. So pain and fear. We judge people very often. Why? Because we've got negativity inside of us. Where does the negativity come from? Where does that anger? Negativity is in the food group of anger. And where does that come from? Pain. You've been hurt in the past. And very often, if it's an extreme judgment or a regular judgment of people, very often it's I put other people down to make myself feel better about myself. I mean, we've all heard that, right? But that means it's coming from a place of feeling insecure about myself, like I am less. So I have to go track back into, which is what the book is for. There's a hole in my love cup, to track back into, to find out where you got the message that you are less than. Or if it is strictly anger driven by past hurts, previous or subsequent to childhood, after childhood, then you've got to go into those relationships and there's still pain there. You're still mad at people from your past, but more often than not, the setup still happened in childhood. So you've got to go into the childhood and identify those core beliefs you were taught about yourself. And for going into the childhood, there's a hole in my love cup, but you got to go into that stuff because that is what is sucking the life out of you from inside, causing you to think less of yourself. Therefore, you put others down as a way to pick yourself up. Furthermore, you're seeing life through a lens of negativity. And I'm not saying you're a bad person. All right. I can be judgmental too. I can be a judgmental fuck if I'm being totally honest. All right. But it's being driven by my own anger, my own seeing life through the lens of negativity. I know I'm more judgmental when I'm hungry and when I'm tired. All right. And so I'm seeing life through negativity, through my own anxieties. Well, again, that's shit I can flush out of myself using journaling, using counseling and so forth. By going in and flushing that shit out, you become less judgmental. You want to know why? Because you calm down inside. Any of you guys have that motor that's constantly running, the anxiety? I got to do more. I got to, that franticness like a squirrel foraging for acorns before winter, right? The more we get out, the pain, the rage, the anger, the fears, and the core beliefs you were taught about yourself, the more that inner motor just slows down. In fact, you begin to put a dimmer switch on it, right? Do you have one of those in your dining room? Or did you have one growing up? Rather than an on-off switch, it's either on or off. Your energy is just on or off. But there's a dimmer switch, and you begin to be able to dial up your energy, dial it all the way off, turn it up to second speed, turn it up to seventh gear, whatever. But we begin from a place of calm once we've flushed all this shit out, which is why I'm constantly hectoring you guys to do this shit. All right. Stephanie asks a tricky little question. Stephanie over on Facebook asked the question, how to handle sexual abuse if it only happened one, maybe two times. Well, I'm going to be very honest with you, Stephanie. The trauma caused by sexual abuse of any kind and any amount, I know you're stating it as, well, it only happened one or two times. Okay, I get that. And so you're almost saying, well, so it's less than. Anybody who has ever survived sexual abuse knows that it only takes one time. And one time can utterly corrupt your innards, your inside, your sense of self, your sense of feeling safety in the world, how much fear you have in your life. To be very honest with you, Stephanie, you handle sexual abuse one or two times as if it were any other amount, because it has power. And the way you handle it is, first of all, you get in contact with the sexual abuse professional. Okay? I am not a sexual abuse expert. That is not my field of expertise. I've had literally thousands of the clients over the years who have experienced sexual abuse, and I tell them right up front, this is not my field of expertise. You need to be with one. And they say, I will, or I'll be in a sexual abuse group, but I want to counsel with you nonetheless. Fine. And so I do what I do with all of my clients. I take them into the pain. I take them at a speed that works for them. My goal is to gently nudge, but to move them back into those events and to begin to flush it out. Well, if we flush it out on all the other stuff in our life first, then we're getting used to flushing out pain. We're getting used to feeling it, bringing it up, doing the work, the counseling and the journaling and the letter writing to release it. And there are other tools, and I talk about those tools in my book, in addition to the letter writing and journaling and so forth. And the better you get at those other things, the more you get the other crud out of your love cup, the more equipped you are to handle the sexual abuse. Okay? And so sometimes we don't go at the sexual abuse by going directly at it, but by getting all the surrounding stuff or the stuff that came before it. But you handle it, by getting a sexual abuse professional counselor. And the people that do this work are like real pros very often. And it's like people who do work with children, fucking pros. Child psychologists, child therapists, wow, mad respect, okay? And so you do it by working with the pros, but you've got to begin to go into it and begin to flush that shit out. And there are tools for making your immediate pain go away. And I'm a believer in some of those, ARM and EMDR and all those. What I've found is very often, though, those people still have to come back for counseling. Why? Because the core beliefs are still there. And this taught you about your own value and your own sense of self. And that shit has to be addressed and rooted out. On this notion, this is very important. I had a couple of clients this week who said to me, well, Sven, I always minimized and now I'm switching off of sexual abuse, but it parallels it, okay? I came from a home that was violent, but it wasn't horribly violent. I was slapped around a few times and I was put down and stuff, but, I got into a men's group when I was, just came out of the military. And then some of these guys just like, I got in this men's group and they're like, these guys have done tours in, Iraq, and I didn't. I was stateside, and these guys had horribly abusive, and I just felt like, what the fuck am I doing in here? I'm not, I don't deserve to be in this room. My abuse wasn't bad. And so I stuffed it back down for another 20 years now, Sven, and now I'm in your office. Okay. And so people think, well, I didn't have it as bad as others, so I shouldn't complain, right? And that I understand what you think the thinking is behind that, but it's a specious argument. And what it means, it sounds good on the surface, but deep down, it doesn't matter. And here's what I want you to understand. Regardless of the amount of pain that you have experienced in your life, especially childhood, I need you to think about it like this. This morning, I did not have bacon and sausage with my eggs. But on the days when I have bacon and sausage, or on the days when my girlfriend is frying chicken in a skillet on the stovetop, okay? Not in the Fry Daddy, but in the stovetop. And what do? We put oil in there and heat that fucker up, right? And then you put the chicken in there, splatters everywhere, so you got to get a little splatter thing. Right, okay, so when it's done and we turn off that burner, that oil is hot as fuck, right? You stay away, you keep the dogs away, right? You put it on the back of the stove, you let it cool down. But what if we took that big fry pan now that is full of boiling oil, and we walked outside, and I got this skillet in my hand with a hot pad, and in my other hand, I've got a pair of clamps that are holding a styrofoam cup. Okay, so I'm not holding the cup with my hands. I'm holding it with a pair of clamps because I don't want to burn my fucking hand, right? Okay, so now I'm holding that cup and I pour 5 drops, just 5 drops of that piping hot oil into that styrofoam cup. Just a regular, crappy styrofoam coffee cup you'd get at a picnic or some shit, right? I pour just 5 drops of that piping hot oil. What's going to happen? It's going to instantly burn out the bottom of that cup, isn't it? Instantly. It'll just like melt, like fucking evaporate, right? Now imagine that I poured, and I've got a big skillet full of this fucking oil. Imagine if I poured half a cup of oil, what is it in metric? What's half a fucking cup? Let's say I poured 8 ounces. They don't have ounces. What's the fucking milli?
4 ounces in a half a cup.
But what is it in metric?
6 kilowatts.
Okay. I pour 6 kilowatts. I pour this much amount, like not a pint, like a cup, whatever you guys drink beer. Jesus, God, this is harder than it has to be. Anyway, I just pour a small amount into that styrofoam cup. Well, it's already had the bottom burned out of it. But now I pour in a small amount more, right? Like an espresso shot into it. It's going to burn out. Now it's going to melt up the sides of that styrofoam cup. Imagine if I pour in 2 more shots. I've still got this giant skillet full of it. Imagine if I pour in 2 more shots worth into that cup. The cup is practically burned out. My clamp is barely hanging on to anything now. There's no cup left. Now, I'm going to take that giant skillet full and I'm going to pour it into that cup through the clamps that are holding that former styrofoam cup. Well, there's nothing there. There's nothing left to burn. It's gone. Okay. That's what pain is to the soul of a child. It doesn't take a lot to scorch a gaping hole through the bottom of a child's soul. And it doesn't take much more than that to basically destroy the soul of a child, the belief system of the child that they have value. And you can keep pouring more pain into that child, but the damage is already done. The damage is done. So for someone to say, well, I didn't have as bad a childhood as Susie did, or, yeah, my parents were assholes. Yeah, they spanked me and told me I was a piece of shit, but, they didn't like hit me in the face and stuff, and they didn't like sexually abuse me. So I didn't really have it bad. No, you did have it bad. The messages that get imprinted in the child, the pain, the trauma that gets imprinted into the child, as well as the messages that go with it and the fears that come as a result of all of it can be extraordinary. So you may want to minimize the pain that was done to you, but what I'm saying is you are a styrofoam cup in the face of boiling hot oil. And fortunately, the human soul, the spirit, the sense of self can regenerate. And it can be healed. And that's what I try to do here and help you guys do. But the bottom line is, you guys, please don't minimize the pain that you have experienced just because others have it worse. Don't talk to that 5-year-old, 9-year-old version of yourself and say, well, you didn't have it very bad, because now you're committing against that 9-year-old self the very crime that was committed against you. You are now minimizing that 9-year-old's pain. You of all people should know how much it hurt. And you of all people should go back to that 9-year-old, that inner child, as they say. You should go back and heal it and honor it by giving it a voice. You never have to confront the person who did this stuff to you. Okay, you don't have to do that to heal, but you do have to give that child the voice to express all the pain and the bullshit beliefs that they were taught about themselves. Go ahead, Rob.
Sven Mercy on YouTube says, what about reacting to sexual abuse with substance abuse? Does that change your answer?
Well, it just compounds the problem. I mean, it makes the puzzle infinitely more difficult and complex, but even complex puzzles can be put together. And yes, it can be pulled apart. And does that make it worse or better? Well, let's not get into worse or better. Gee, my pain is worse than your pain. It's not that sort of thing. Does it make it trickier? Yeah, but are you the first one to ever experience that? No, which means it is solvable. It is doable. It really is. But it just means it takes, you got to go further into it. And working with a pro when there's been violence, when there's been abuse and so forth, working with people who specialize in this, who come, with a recommendation is always better. But there are tools out there to facilitate your growth and your healing, even if you can't get a therapist, because we all know, therapists, especially good therapists, are in, short supply. And there are a lot of people wanting to heal, so there are great self-help tools out there. And we try on this show to be a little bit, to help you out a little bit. Get you on the journey and keep you going and get you going into yourself, because ultimately it still demands going into that pain and the bullshit beliefs you were taught about yourself and excising that. All right, next question. All right. You got a question, Rob?
Yeah, I do. Familiar one, I think. Nina says, forgiveness of a parent that abandoned you. How do I truly let go? We are no contact at the moment for 3 years as of now.
All right. This is a great question, folks. Listen to what was just said. Basically, forgiveness regarding a parent who abandoned you. We've been separated for 3 years. What the fuck do I do now? Okay. This is really, really, really important. As most of you know, I'm a former clergyman. I still do some weddings and funerals of dear friends, whatever. But the bottom line is this. Forgiveness, and I am a voice crying out in the wilderness on this one. Good luck finding any quote, any person online, anywhere in the history of fucking humanity to badmouth forgiveness. All right? I tried for my last book, for Badass Wisdom, I tried to find a good quote to back up my argument. Gandhi, basically all their quotes are saying, Sven, you're a fucking idiot. All right. Even Mr. Rogers, forgive. Who am I to speak, go against what Mr. Rogers says? I mean, fount of wisdom, right? But here's the thing. Forgiveness. On one hand, listen closely. Don't put words in my fucking mouth. All right. Forgiveness on one hand is overrated and misstated. On one hand, listen closely. Don't think you know what I'm fucking saying. Forgiveness is perpetuated, especially in the U.S. We have largely been a Judeo-Christian influenced country, right? You can't dispute that. All right, largely influenced, right? And one of those values is forgive. But having been a person whose degrees are in, bachelor's and master's in world religions and written in the fields of spirituality and so on and so forth, studied indigenous cultures, all that stuff, in no sacred text does it. And last time I said this on the show, I said it loudly and it hurt Rob's ears, and he gave me the look of, Sven. No, I'm teasing you, Rob. You did say it, but none of those sacred texts say, forgive right now. He just jumped. Forgive right now. It has to be now. I am all for forgiveness, but the mistake people make is thinking that forgiveness solves the problem. Forgiveness is a tying a bow on the problem. Forgiveness is the final step. It is not the healing step. People say, forgive for your own sake. It doesn't help. You want to know why? Because the breach in the relationship was caused by someone doing something that hurt the other person's feelings, or two people doing two things that hurt two people's feelings. And there's a breach in the relationship. If I forgive you, I am mending the relationship and I am exonerating you, letting you off the hook. So it's good for you and it's good for the relationship. But if I have not gotten my pain out of me from that breach, if I have not gotten that hurt out of me, then my forgiving you, while it's helping you heal and it's helping the relationship heal, is not healing me. Therefore, when none of these sacred texts say, you got to heal right now, they don't say that. They say, just forgive. It doesn't say you have to do it right now. What I say is, if you want to forgive later, fucking hey, go for it. Tits up. I'm all for it. All right? But before you forgive, heal yourself first so that your forgiveness comes from a place of authenticity. Furthermore, so that you are healed, because if you haven't gotten your pain out of you, the pain is still in you, yet you're going to pretend like we're all fucking kumbaya when deep down you're still hurt, maybe even angry, maybe even sad at this person. So I'm pretending something that isn't actual. I'm lying. But most importantly, I'm hurting myself. Do you want to know how many fucking times just this week I've had someone say to me, a client or a friend, oh, Sven, I forgave him, but gosh, I still, the anger still comes up. Well, yeah, exactly. This is my point, people. Just saying, I forgive you, that doesn't change it unless the healing comes first. Okay, so if I get all my shit out with my therapist or in my journaling or in my letter writing or using the Sedona method or using the accepting technique, some of these other techniques I teach in my book or regurgitate in my book, if I've gotten it all out, then when I forgive, it comes from a place of, I am healed now. And now I'm ready to heal the relationship. But if you forgive first, you're just packing your own pain down deeper and you're driving yourself into a fucking hole, and it's not done. So how do you forgive? You get the fucking pain out of you first. Then you'll be in a position. But you said you and your parent have been apart for 3 years. You can't heal the breach until you heal yourself. If you want to heal the breach, otherwise you would have walked away completely. And you haven't done that. You're still having the conversation inside yourself that says you want to repair the relationship, but until you get all of your pain out of you, you're not ready. Furthermore, you may choose to actually say to this person, you have hurt me in X, Y, and Z ways, and I'm going to need atonement from you before I get back into a relationship. They may say, fuck you. And then you may have to say, gosh, this person really has no interest in a real relationship. They just want me to stop thinking about and talking about the pain that they caused me. And that's when we've got a grossly imbalanced relationship where someone wants to not take accountability for the pain they've caused you. And you can choose to have a relationship with that person. I wouldn't. Why the fuck would you ever want to have a relationship with someone who has caused you pain and doesn't want to own it? Because that says they'll do it again and they will again not own it. So fundamentally, I'm fucking subservient in this relationship.
And I have to say I agree with you, but let me relate something to you. I know someone who was at the deathbed of a friend of hers.
Yeah.
And the friend was very fearful of dying. And the woman said to her friend, just forgive everyone. And that seemed to calm the person.
Wait, which woman said, just forgive everyone? The dying person said that?
No, the friend of the dying person said to the fearful dying person, just forgive everyone. And it seemed to help at the time.
Wonderful. And this actually is a great distinction. I'm glad you brought this up because I literally this morning was laying in bed at 4 a.m, scrolling through my number one news source, TikTok. And I saw a clip by Ricky Gervais from the movie The Afterlife or something like that. And he was in a cancer ward for children. And, he was very cute and real sensitive and heartfelt. And I was crying a little bit there laying in bed. And I'm using your example and this example to draw a distinction here. And that is, you're bringing up a very specific example. And none of my rules are absolute, right? They all come with exceptions. Anyway, as he's leaving the hospital, this character played by Ricky Gervais is confronted by a small child who is dying of cancer. Will you come back and visit me? You're so funny. He says, yes, I will. Will you come back the next day? He says, yes. And will you come back every day after that? He says, I don't know. So he's being honest. And then the child says something like, the child says, will you come back every day until I'm in heaven? And Ricky Gervais says, I don't know, but I will come back today and or tomorrow and the day after. And then the child says, is there a heaven? And the director very poignantly zooms in on Ricky Gervais' face in this clip. And his face is saying, no, I don't. And there's a long pause. And he says to the child, yes, there's a heaven. Back when I was a clergyman, this is the distinction, and I made this comment on that clip. This is the distinction between systematic theology and pastoral theology. Now, most people aren't familiar with those terms, and I don't blame you. It's fucking boring as shit. Systematic theology is all the beliefs of a given belief system, of a given religion, our beliefs on God. This is our system of beliefs. But there are times in life where you throw the system out the fucking window because you're in a pastoral situation. Well, what is pastoral? We know from words that a pastoral scene is a scene of a farmland and the cows are out in there and it looks so placid and calm and beautiful. A pastor is someone who shepherds people, right? And brings a sense of calm and heals and leads people. A pastoral response is a kind response, is a loving response, is meeting the person in their wounds and helping them heal or at least bringing them comfort. Palliative words, palliative presence, comforting. And so the pastoral response, Rob, that you bring up of the person, one woman is on the deathbed and her friend comes and says, just forgive everyone. That is a pastoral response, regardless of what my systematic theology might be about forgiveness, that for the most part, I believe in getting the shit out before. But that situation did not allow for the dying woman to get all of her pain out. And so using this pastoral response of just forgive, she was fundamentally saying, you got to let it go. Just let it go. You did your best and you've lived a good life. And she's saying all these things without saying them. And she's saying in the words of just forgive them all. In other words, just let it all go. It's time to go. And it worked, and it was palliative for the dying person in that moment. Does that somewhat address what you're talking about, Rob?
Perfectly so.
Okay, very good. All right, I will be right back. Rob will be right back. KC will be right back. Hopefully she doesn't leave the building right after this short break.
I've read so many self-help books, and I always get something good out of them. But when I dove into There's a Hole in My Love Cup, well, it changed me. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. My copy is very dog-eared and highlighted. Thanks, Sven, for writing it. I love There's a Hole in My Love Cup and believe you will also. Order your copy at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We are back at the Badass Counseling Show. We are engaging in a lightning round. It's a quick Q&A live. We are live right now. We are hot. We are in the groove. I got one follow-up on the forgiveness, and I'm going to take this one real quick. And this is from Rebecca on Facebook. Have I really forgiven someone if I no longer want that person in my life? Well, let me tell you something. My girlfriend, she went through an experience where she hated her sister for a long time. one of her sisters, and she has 3 of them and a brother, and she hated her. Just so much anger and rage after a lifetime together, and and she grew up in the family, the Italian thing, family, love them, and blah blah blah. And she went through a couple of years of hating her sister, and then she turned to me one day. We were driving up towards New Haven, Connecticut, through New Haven on the Merritt. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon with some Bob Dylan going on in the background. And she turns to me and she says, "I don't hate my sister anymore. I don't hate my sister anymore." She says, "I don't want to have a relationship with her. She would have to go through the significant change and to own up to the shit she did, but I forgive her for what she's done." So to answer your question, Rebecca, you asked the question, have I really forgiven someone if I no longer want that person in my life? Sure. But to forgive doesn't mean if this person hasn't changed, then it means I'm walking in and I choose to go back to have a relationship with that person. I'm walking into a situation that I know is going to be destructive to me. And that's self-protection to not do that. I forgive you for what you've done, but I have to walk away because this hurts me and you keep hurting me. So to forgive, and this is really important for people who have suffered from abuse or are in abusive relationships. Just because you forgive them for what they've done or just because you've processed, quote unquote, what they've done in the past doesn't mean you have to stay in that relationship and keep eating it because that's you disrespecting you. That's you minimizing your own pain. That's you, I'm going to forgive you, but I'm going to minimize my pain. And I'm just going to walk right back in. That's you placing their needs, their wants, their feelings as more important than your own. And even though the forgiveness may feel good to you, walking back in isn't going to. Because otherwise, what's the point of forgiving if you're just going to walk right back in and let them chew you up and spit you out again? So have I really forgiven someone if I no longer want them that person in my life? Sure. All right, next question. Victoria asked the question, I feel like I need acknowledgement or an ounce of accountability. How do I let go of that piece? You let go of that piece in part by going in and looking at what I'm feeling, anger and sadness, longing. You're feeling longing. You want that person. You need something from that person in order to feel good about yourself, right? But what's fundamentally happening, Victoria, is this person is holding up your life. They have control over you. You're not moving forward. You're not getting on with your life because they're keeping you stuck because you still want something from them. You think you can't exist without it. They fucking own you, as we say in sports. They fucking own you because your life isn't moving forward. You're not living your best life because you still think you need something from them in order to move forward. How do I let go of that piece? Well, you guys know my theory on letting go. People always say, oh, you just got to let go. I left my second wife. First wife divorced me. I divorced my second wife. Amazing woman. It pained me to walk away, but it was just, she and I were oil and water. And, we fought, 3 times a week, yelling fights. It's like, I don't want this, right? And it just, after years of trying, it wasn't fixable. And so I walked away. And for about a year afterwards, I just missed her, even though I was the one who had walked away. And I knew I needed to walk away. And I didn't go back or regret the decision. But I couldn't let go. And, people say, oh, you just got to let go. You just got to let go. It's like, for a lot of people, it's like, but how? We all know, yeah, I know I got to let go, but you can't just let go. And what I always tell people is the path to letting go is to hold on as tightly as you can. And that people are like, what the fuck does that mean? What it means is what's keeping you from letting go is that you have feelings of love that are still inside of you. You have feelings of anger that you still want to burp out onto the person. You have feelings of sadness, all those feelings. And it's those feelings that are keeping you stuck. Even the good feelings, the feelings of longing and love. It's not just the nasty ones of anger and you betrayed me or whatever it might be. So it's going into those feelings and beginning. And this is an easy one. You just keep writing letters to the person that you don't send. And the more you do that, the less you will have that need for accountability. Victoria, you are wanting something from this person. You are wanting their accountability, and they have no intention of giving it. And you're still wanting it because you are wanting this person to confirm your worth. And so writing those letters and journaling about it, and you'll be able to let go of that. But you do it just by holding on to the feelings for as long as you can until your grip gets tired. Another person here said, I need a recording of this to re-listen to. Just so everyone understands, this is a podcast recording. This is a live event that will become a podcast episode on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Okay. So what we're doing right now, this is just the taping. The actual podcast gets posted onto Spotify. So in other words, this episode, this taping we're doing right now isn't on Spotify yet. Rob's going to spend about 4 hours editing this fucking thing, as he does with every episode. And this one will go up in like early November, okay? Our podcast, Badass Counseling Show podcast, is on Spotify, Audible, Apple, iHeartRadio, and most podcast sites. All right. Next question, peoples. All right. Dana asks, what do I do about the big fear of feeling? Right. If you've been taught as a child that your feelings didn't matter, maybe you were expected to take care of someone else's feelings. Maybe you were mom's therapist or you were dad's mini-me. And if so, there's a free article on my website. I have a bunch of articles. I do a new one every month, in-depth analysis of some aspect of life, from long-distance relationships to extreme takers to moms and daughters, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and one of the articles that I did several years ago, but it's on the website, badasscounseling.com, is emotional incest. And I open with an old line by Sam Kinison, the highly offensive comedian of the 80s and 90s. And, he talks about this idea of becoming someone's emotional tampon. And that's what happens when a child is stuck playing therapist, when the parent or the adults or the grandma and grandma who raised you or whatever dump all their adult problems onto you. You become the blood soak for all their pain. And the problem is when you're a kid, the biggest problem you can handle when you're a kid is, Mommy, my pencil broke. Where do I get a new pencil? You're not prepared to handle conversations about love and loss and cheating and misery and I hate my family and I can't afford the mortgage this month and I need to have rectal surgery and all. A child's not equipped to handle that. And so the underlying message being sent to the child when this happens is that the child's sense of self, their feelings, they get the underlying message, my feelings don't matter, my wants don't matter, my needs don't matter. I just want to take care of Mommy. And Mommy tells me all her problems, and it feels so good to be trusted, and I feel like I'm an adult, and I feel capable, I feel like an equal, but the bottom line is the child is not equipped. And their own feelings, their own needs, their own wants get stuffed down. And so because they love the parent, they just want to comfort the parent and help the parent figure it out. What the child is really doing that they're not aware they're doing is fundamentally, if I can make Mom happy, or this is the kid who becomes the family clown. If I can just make Dad laugh, then when he's happy, then he might give me some love. If I can fix them, then I can get my needs met. All right? So whether you had life's feelings dumped on you, your parents' feelings dumped on you, or you were taught, I'll give you something to cry about, quit crying, or big boys don't cry, or you're not allowed to have feelings, whatever it is, if your feelings got stuffed down, or you got an underlying message about your feelings, and you've been stuffing them down your whole life, guess what? You don't like feelings. You stay up in your head, you're a highly rational person, or you're just a very busy person or whatever, because you don't want to touch those feelings. A, because they scare you, they don't make sense, but also they're unfamiliar. It's just like learning how to ride a unicycle. I've never ridden a unicycle, and I'd fall down a lot. But eventually, I'd get up to speed. It's like going to a foreign country. Even if I were to go to an English-speaking country, even if I were to go to, if I've never been, let's say, to Scotland, English-speaking country, some would argue, that its customs are different and it's disorienting. Okay. And that's how it is if you've never done feelings before. So if you're going to have big fear of feeling, for whatever reason, you got the message that your feelings don't matter and you become uncomfortable with it and it hurts to bring up those old feelings, then what you start with is journaling on yesterday. Start with this morning. Start with last week when your boss yelled at you or when somebody cut you off in traffic. Start with that. Start with the small feelings. All right. You can handle that. Because you felt the fucking feeling. You got pissed off. You got sad when your coworker insulted you. Start there. Start small. And write about that. I'm really hurt when Susan at work said that I'm a jerk. And then I just got so mad. But I'm not really mad. I just feel sad because I want her to like me. Flush it out. Start there. Then go to the next small thing. Go to small things. Do small things, small things, small things. And the more you get used to just feeling and processing small things, guess what? The occasional medium thing will bring up. And it's like, whoa, I've never had a medium one. Well, but I kind of feel comfortable. I can do this. Then go to a medium one. And then eventually go to the large ones. But you'll get there. All right. Next question.
I have a question. Also have a comment from a listener viewer right now that we're doing this live stream that's saying, what's with the constant cussing? My kids and grandkids can hear this. We specify this is not made for children. And on our podcast, we always say explicit content.
Yeah.
Just want to make that clear.
Yep.
Okay, here's.
I'm not done on that one.
Oh, go right ahead.
Yeah. No, I get it. Then turn it off. Don't let the kids and grandkids hear. Play the tape later. This will go up as podcast episodes. All of our episodes, our counseling episodes, come out on Thursdays, and the whole catalog is on Spotify and Audible and Apple and so forth, or YouTube. And then our live lightning rounds like these come out on Sundays, so you can listen to it with your earbuds in when you're cleaning the house or something like that. Swearing is just how I talk, and especially as a former clergyman, people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Okay, thanks, Mom. And so forth. Everybody has different tastes. I swear, it's like listening to some show where they swear or where they don't swear. Who gives a shit? This is just how I talk. And some people say, "Well, it's not very professional." It's like, okay. But the thing is, I'm not a psychologist. Just to remind everyone, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a former clergyman. I'm a soul counselor. And the clergy people I knew and the best pastors I knew swore with abandon. They're just regular folks. My dad, he always told the joke. He grew up on the farms in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, and country pastors, they're clean. They didn't swear, at least the ones he knew, right? Swedish Lutherans in northern Minnesota. But the pastor goes out to be among the people as one of the people. And my people are just the regular folk, man. I grew up in a blue-collar suburb of Minneapolis. I'm a blue-collar guy. I was in the military. I was in sports, and this is just how I talk. Not to say everyone in military and sports, talks this way, but I do. And it's my show, and this is what we do. And if it doesn't work for you, I totally get it. No offense. That's all right. There are lots of great shows out there. I just happen to swear because it's just how I talk. And so that's all. Doesn't work for everybody. That's okay.
Not every show is made for everybody. This person is really upset, writing in all caps. But
okay, that's okay.
That's the way it is. Okay, here's the question.
All right, here we go.
Jennifer says, got a call from my mother last night. She let me know that she is in beginning stages of kidney failure. Is it a bad thing that I feel nothing after everything she has done to me in my life?
Is it a bad thing that you feel nothing that she has kidney failure? In other words, is it bad that I don't feel sympathy? Is fundamentally what you're saying. That I don't feel bad for her. No, it's not bad. No, it's okay. It's okay. If somebody wrongs you, some people would say, well, you should feel bad, for every last thing on earth. Can I be honest with you? I'm going to expand that, all right? There are certain things on the news that I just don't have the room to care about. I'm not even talking about politics. Like some tragedies come on, or, sometimes in the Middle East stuff, I don't get involved. I can't get involved because I'm worried about Boko Haram kidnapping 200 young girls in fucking Africa. For whatever reason, that thing got in my head and it hurts. Or, as you may or may not know about me, I do a lot of work with homeless and I do a lot of work with vets. That touches my soul. I can't feel everybody's pain. I just don't have the bandwidth. I feel bad for them. And I'm so grateful for the people that do work on Middle East stuff, or people who do disaster relief in Joplin, Missouri, or in Florida, or whatever it might be. I'm grateful for those. My daughter specializes in disaster relief management. All right. And so I can't feel everybody's pain. Now, people would say, yeah, but it's your mom. You're saying it, but it's my mom. Gee, shouldn't I? No. My high school math teacher, Walt Wenholtz, he was also the assistant wrestling coach. Walt Wenholtz used to say about math, everybody, or most people, except for the real super math geniuses, most people, when it comes to math, most people are a cup. And the day comes when your cup is full. Everybody has a different size cup, but the day comes when you're not going to be able to just get any more math. There's just higher and higher and higher levels. And the super geniuses, they have a bottomless cup, right? Like at fucking, Wendy's, the bottomless cup of soda or whatever. Okay. And when it comes to pain, there's a threshold. There's a threshold that there's only so much pain I can handle. I mean, if we're really going to go just for a moment, let's go full on Jesus-y, right? People say, well, Jesus took on everything. I should be like Jesus. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He said to his apostles, get me away from the crowd, take me out on the boat. Get me away from the crowd, take me up into the hills. He goes into the Garden of Gethsemane before his death with 3 of his disciples, not all 12. And he's praying with them. And he says, hey, you guys hang out here. I want to go be alone. In other words, I don't want to be with you guys. I don't want to deal with your shit right now. I got my own shit. All right. The point is, we can all handle only so much pain. And there is a threshold value for people who value their own health. There's only so much that they will allow from a certain person. Then I need to distance myself from that person. And in this case with your mother, she has used up for whatever reason. Who knows what pain she has caused you? You know, I don't. But I believe you when you say, I just don't have any emotional bandwidth left for her. And that's okay. Now, where it's a problem, though, is this. You got to heal that shit for yourself, though. There's nothing to do with your mom. That you're flushing out your pain and your sadness, your anger, your rage, your betrayal, your disappointment, your sense of grief and loss over the fact that you never really had the mother-daughter relationship, whatever it might be. But is it bad if you don't feel bad for your mother who's been diagnosed with, kidney failure, whatever it is? No, it's not bad. It's normal and it's okay. Let yourself off the hook, all right? Sometimes any chits that we owe someone because, gee, it's my mother or it's my brother, I got to take care of them. Those can be exhausted. And it sounds like your mother has exhausted anything that you ever owed her out of, not filial, but out of love, family, loyalty. Okay, next question. Thoughts, Rob? You look pensive.
No, I'm just reading over the comments, and you're doing great, bud.
Which is Rob's way of saying they're eating you alive here, man. They don't like that shit.
Okay, you're right.
Okay. Here's a comment. I don't know. There's some conversation going on here on TikTok, and that's I haven't tracked it because I'm taking questions from every direction. But someone puts up this comment, and I like it. Beans Nation, who I recognize has been on the show before, or sat in on some of these lives before, says, I understand not everyone is on the same journey. I heal with no expectations. That's a really great point. I can remember my mother, who was an educator and a spiritual educator, and she always talked about the spiritual journey. And this is really a great point. And again, I don't know what conversation preceded this, and I don't really care, but that's a really great point. We're not all on the same journey, or we are all on the same journey to self, whether we're aware of it or not, but we're all at different places on the journey. We're all moving at different speeds. Some of us need to go backwards. Some of us just need to sit and rest. Some are going at a stage where they're going 100 miles an hour with their hair on fire. But this notion of giving grace to other people, this notion of being patient and giving thanks for those who are being patient with us. We're all on different phases of the spiritual journey, and when we are interacting with each other, as I talk about in my book, in the opening of my book, that when we are on someone else's sacred ground, which is what this healing journey and this journey to growth and sense of aliveness and authentic self, when we are on the soul's journey, we need to treat ourselves on that journey, but we also need to treat others who share some of their soul journey. As I talk about in the book, we need to, when we know we're on someone else's sacred ground, we have to take off your shoes. This is holy ground. In other words, tread gently. And that means with yourself and with others, understand that everyone else is at a different point on their journey. And just because they're not at your point doesn't mean I'm better than you. It means we're all in it together. And that means bringing a sense of grace to each other and love. And in my highest compliment that I can pay to anyone, a sense of graciousness. Sense of graciousness. I'm going to take just a couple more questions here, and then we're going to call it a day, fine humans. Hi, I'm doing my homework from your book. I have so many questions. How do I reach out? Well, I'm usually counseling people and so on and so forth. If you would like to counsel me with me, you can go to badasscounseling.com, read the counseling page, and then reach out to my assistant on the contact page. I do require all new clients to be reading or have read There's a Hole in My Love Cup, just because it enables us to move so much quicker in session and get results faster, saving you time, saving you money, etc. But there are ways to reach out. I get about 1,000 reach outs a week by direct message, voice message, text, email, blah, 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 blah. And Kate, my assistant will send some of those through. So you can send it that way, but that's no guarantee. For those of you that might want to be on the show for counseling, we do counseling episodes that are released every Thursday. You can reach out at production at badasscounseling.com. Our production staff looks at that, and then they pick who gets to be on the show to talk with me. Production at badasscounseling.com. Another option is we have a group on Facebook. It's the Badass Counseling Group. There's about 37,000 members, and occasionally I'm on there. I have moderators on there as well, but occasionally I get on and answer some questions. But there's a group of really people who are really committed to the path. It's basically centered around the book, and most people on the have read the book, but it's not required. And so you can a lot of times get questions answered. There's an old saying, we teach best what we most need to learn, or we teach best what we're going through or have just gone through. And so there are a lot of really astute people on there who have maybe progressed maybe they're 2 steps ahead of you on the spiritual journey, or 20 steps behind, but they've already addressed the very things that you're wrestling with. Get on that group. It's the Badass Counseling Group on Facebook. That's a great resource. And we're actually starting a new group, but that's not quite out yet, but that's a separate story. All right. Jesse, this is an interesting question. Listen to this one. Jesse on TikTok asks, do you believe people choose to continue to suffer by choice? Yes and no. Yes and no. We choose our whole lives to run from the pain. So what you're sort of asking is someone who's sitting in it, wallowing in it, and they're just choosing to suffer. Some people do choose that, but the simple truth is we do have to sit in it in order to actually heal, which is why the poet Rumi says the cure for the pain is in the pain, right? You have to be that tidal wave of pain and suffering and messages you were taught about yourself that are so painful in all your past relationships that you've been running from that tidal wave your whole life, because if I slow down, that tidal wave will overwhelm me. And some people do turn around and they sit in it and they flush it out of them. Some people don't know how to flush it out or choose not to. I just want to be sad because I'm so scared of even facing the stuff. But the running, though, is just as bad as the sitting in it. See, so many people think, well, I don't feel my feelings, so I'm healthy and I'm good. I'm golden, man. I'm over that shit. No, you're not. The tidal wave is still fucking chasing you, which is why you're boozing up every day, which is why you're on the pills, the pot, the weed, the over gambling, the over smoking, the over swiping and scrolling, over gaming, over working, over parenting, over exercising, where you have to create chaos and busyness around you constantly because you're running, which is just as bad, almost worse than the person who's in it. Because at least the person in it is feeling it. Now they just need a method and access point to an egress point to get that pain out of them. So you ask the question, in other words, do people choose it? Yes, we're all choosing it. On one hand, if you're going to heal, you have to choose to sit in the pain. Of course. And the problem is when we don't want to choose that, when we don't want to sit in it, because you have to feel it in order to heal it. All right, baby, uno more question more. Ashley on TikTok asks this. I'm a single parent with overwhelming anxiety and stress, insomnia. How do I still be a good mom? Perfect question. I'm so glad you're asking that question, Ashley. That's awesome. When the mere facts of life get in the way of me being the quality parent that I strive to be, and anybody who's been a parent at all has struggled with that. Anybody who's a single parent has definitely struggled with that. Anybody who's a single parent to multiple kids, yeah, okay. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. The best way to become a better parent is to heal your own past. You have to, you must. This isn't optional. This isn't after the house is clean, okay? This isn't after whatever. Your highest priority has got to be the healing of your own soul, Ashley, and every parent and anybody who has kids. The more you heal, the single biggest thing you can do to become a better parent is heal your own past. It's not just about getting more sleep, which is very important. You got to start doing that. You have to begin to organize, structure your own personal life so that you are set up to A, heal your past and be a better parent. But we so get caught up in the madness of life. Do less. You don't have to go to every practice. You don't have to go to every game. I can count on one half of one hand the number of my sporting events that my parents went to before I was in 10th grade. They had 6 kids, and I'm so glad my parents didn't go to all that shit. Because then I'm playing the sports for me, not for them, because I need to see mom affirming me. No. So you can do some less for a while, but your highest priority has got to be the healing of your own past. Has to be. And that will change everything you do in your parenting. And again, that's what the book is for. There's a hole in my love cup. Now, Rob, tell me April's question. April, I am listening to you.
There we go. All right. April says, can you please talk about attachment issues? I attach too quickly to anyone who's nice to me, and I find detachment too hard, even if it's something that's not healthy for me.
I'm going to play the ball as it lies, but I'm going to answer something first. You say I attach too quickly. You said about yourself. And then when I attach too quickly, what?
It's too hard to detach, even if it's not healthy for me.
Right. So you're not able to modulate the speed. You are not in control of the speed at which you attach. And therefore I get to attach. And if the person is hurtful or hurts my feelings, or I can't create the boundaries that I want, whether it's actually walking away or sort of modulating the relationship so I'm not getting my ass handed to me and constantly giving. That is an indicator of a core belief that you have inside of you that you're not aware of. And the core belief is it's down there. You can't see it. Again, this is what the book is for. There's a hole in my love cup. In all of my materials, but you have to drill down to what that is. And fundamentally what it is somewhere in you, you believe that the only way you get love is by giving more. Furthermore, you are taught that you don't have value, that either your voice doesn't matter, you're not lovable, you're not good enough. And so as a result, once somebody shows you even an ounce of being liked, you attach that person. Why? Because think about it. As a child, you just wanted what? What every fucking kid wants. Just pour some love into my love cup. Just be nice to me. Children who've been in pain or neglected or abused are saying, just be nice to me, please. And their spirit longs for someone just to be kind. And that's very normal. Okay. But if we didn't get that love poured into our love cup as a child, then we go through life, fundamentally, our heart's screaming out, just be nice to me. And so when someone's just even a little bit nice to me, it's like I glom onto that person. And I've done this, folks. So I'm singing my own song from my own past. Why? Don't go away, because it feels so good. When you pour those little drops of love into me, or maybe a cup full, or maybe a pint full, or maybe a gallon full, it feels so good. I don't ever want to let it go. So if you grow up, criticize your own children, guess what? Guess what? You're setting them up for problems later. If you have a daughter and you're constantly criticizing her or putting her down, guess what she's going to do when she meets the first boy or the first girl, if she's lesbian, when she's 14? Guess what? She's going to open up like a flower and sell the farm. She's going to give away her sexuality or get involved in drugs. Hopefully the person will be a good influence, but maybe they won't be. Why? Because that person is showing them a little bit of love. Or if she meets a crew, a gang, a group of folks who aren't necessarily doing the right thing, she's going to open up because she's getting some love. What do gang members often say? I felt like family, right? I had somebody who gave a shit about me, right? Okay, the bottom line is, this notion of attaching, I'm attaching to someone simply because they're giving me an ounce of love, even if I maybe know that person is bad for me. And then you say, and I find it so hard to detach. The reason you find it so hard to detach is because that ounce of love that they gave you felt so good. Because in that moment, when they would give you love, all of those voices from your past saying you're no good were silenced. They were muted. That love being given by that person's mere presence in your life is an indicator that you matter. You matter enough. Yes, they may be hitting me in the face. Yes, they may be stealing my children. Yes, they may be stealing my money. Yes, they may be hurting me. But the mere fact that you even want to be around me says that I have value, which is a counter message, a living, breathing counter message to all the crap I was taught about myself growing up. That living, breathing counter message feels so good. I will do anything to keep it. I will sell the farm, as the saying goes, to get you to stay, because I so need someone to love me. And your mere presence, even if you're abusing me, feels so good. And that, to a lot of people, it's like, wow, I've never thought about that. But yeah, that's why you can't detach, is because when you detach, then it's not that you necessarily mind being alone, like you can't pay your own bills, though maybe that'll add to it, or you just don't like being surrounded by silence. But what happens is, when that person that was a living, breathing counter message to all the messages you got growing up saying you suck, you're not good enough, you have no worth, when that person leaves, it's directly correlated. The further away they go, the more those voices inside come roaring up inside of you, and they churn and churn in your brain. But the closer that person comes back to you, the quieter those voices become. You see what I'm getting at? This is why it's necessary to go and heal the past, because once we extract those voices, the core beliefs you were taught, the bullshit beliefs you were taught about yourself, once you extract those, then you're no longer afraid of being alone, which is why being alone is a superpower. Because once you're no longer afraid of the voice inside, once you've extracted those voices inside, then being alone isn't painful, and you won't hold on to someone who's bad for you. One last point I want to make on this, and it's somewhat ancillary. I don't believe in attaching too soon, personally. I am a person who attaches when I feel like I want to fucking attach. Now, I used to attach soon to people, and it was hard. The person I was just describing was me. The person I hold on to you so the voices go away, that was me, okay? But since I've done all my healing shit, I just attach at the speed that feels good to me. And if the other person doesn't attach, okay. And it hurts. And I cry and I grieve. And I get mad and yell at the sky and all that shit. And I journal it all out or talk to a therapist, whatever. But the bottom line is, I attach at the speed that feels good. If you're always thinking, well, what do they want? What speed do they want to go? And I got to do it to be acceptable because they may push you away. Okay, so they push me away. I'm going to go the speed that feels right to me. And if it doesn't work for the other person, that's okay. I've actually done videos on this where speed matters. I was mentoring a young woman. This will be my last point, but I was mentoring a young woman in her 20s, and we were talking about her and her relationship with her boyfriend, and they broke up and so on and so forth. And I said, it's not enough. Love, when considering the construction, the infrastructure of a relationship, love isn't enough. There's one more thing that so many people aren't aware of, and that's speed. Do we both want to go to the same speed? There are some people that just want to go so slow. I will commit, but maybe that'll be 10 years from now. That's not necessarily, it isn't necessarily pathology or a bad thing. Maybe they just want to fucking go slow. Some people want to go medium, more of a balance. I want to get closer, but not too fast. And some people are ready right now and they want it right now. And that's not necessarily always a bad thing or always some fucking disease. Some people just want to go faster. Why is that a bad thing? Some people want to go slower. Why is that a bad thing? What if you have two people that both want to go slow? What if you have two people that roughly want to go a little quicker, want to move things along for their own reasons? There's nothing wrong with that. The only question is, are you being you? Are you being your authentic self? And the more you are your authentic self, the more you're going to lose people. And the more you're going to gain people who are more suitable for you. Friends, lovers, family. My fine people, I love my badasses. I love it. Love you all, every last one of you, each for your own reason, because the essence, the spirit of who you are is beautiful. It really is. And I know that. I've been doing this shit a long time. All right. So anyway, I just wanted you to know that. So Casey is nodding her head. I have no idea what at, but God bless her. Rob next to me. Rob, talk to me.
Yeah, April said, thank you for the words. It sounds exactly like me. And speaking of words, I do understand some people are uncomfortable with some of the words that you use.
Oh, wait, is this April talking or you?
No, this is, April just said, thanks for the words.
Oh,
now this is
thanks.
me.
Gotcha.
Now this is me.
Gotcha.
Some people are uncomfortable with the obscenities. I understand that, but that is your authentic self. And the name of the show has the word badass in it. That is you, and that is who we are. You can get affirmation and comfort from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but that is a different experience, and that's not us.
Yeah, and as anybody know who's in business, I drink protein drinks, and I drink the chocolate. But what if there's a company that only makes vanilla? I'm sure they're delicious, but I don't want vanilla. I want the chocolate.
Fuck them.
Right, fuck them. My audience largely is folks who, and please understand, I have 1,000+ videos on TikTok, Instagram, social, whatever, all original videos. Probably 50% of them have swearing in them. And I get people literally complaining to me about swearing. I'll put a language alert on a video, and someone will still watch the video and still complain about the language. And I'm like, but what do I do with that? But here's my response. I'm going to tell you, this is how I frame it. And I say it to the person, often gently, sometimes salty, because it's like, get off my back, right? But here's how I say it. I have 1,000 free videos. I put out a free newsletter every week. 3 people are putting together a podcast every week. No one does more work than Rob. All of us are doing it for free. We don't get anything from this, okay? All of us are doing all this work. So you have just walked into a party where there's a giant buffet of food. And in this case, it's soul food, right? And it's all free, okay? Except the books, the courses, the DIY courses on the website. Otherwise, everything's free. Okay. It's like you've walked into a party with this giant spread of food and you can eat all you want and it's good shit, right? But you feel the need after you've eaten to walk up to the hostess and say, you really should put milk chocolate in those cookies instead of semi-sweet chocolate. Criticizing on the mechanism by which I make the cookies of this show and of my work is just like, to me, I don't know, where I grew up among Swedish Americans, it's ill-mannered. You don't insult a host who's feeding you for free. But I understand everybody has different tastes, and not all my stuff is fucking swearing. So there you have it. I love my badasses. Rob, final word. Give me a music trivia note. Let's end on something interesting.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Amen. And strength for folks to stand up for themselves. Start loving on yourself. The book is There's a Hole in My Love Cup. The Spanish version is what you read there. I'm not going to say it because I know I will butcher it, as I've done 3 times already today. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. I also have it in Spanish and their workbook, audiobook, ebook, and so forth. This is the Badass Counseling Show podcast. It posts all of these episodes that you tune into, the live episodes. The counseling episodes are on Spotify. They're on Audible. They're on Apple. They're on iHeartRadio and most podcast site. And it is free. So you can get a re-recording of this or all of our episodes on any of those. The name is The Badass Counseling Show. On behalf of my team, KC, Rob the Rocket, and myself, Sven Erlandson, no matter where you are, fucking hell, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.